Okay, we're trying this another time.
Do I go to yours?
Okay, wait, I have to invite you. 1 second.
Well, it looks like I'm in day 2, eh? Nice. Hopefully I'll get, me and Buddy that were just on the podcast, he joined, he'll probably be right in. We were talking about social media and all that kind of stuff about followers. I get 2 more followers. I'm up at 10,000, then I'll be really important. Yeah. Hey, how bad did me losing my Instagram yesterday affect my mental health, my mental, emotional well-being, so to speak?
It was really bad. And I remember, yeah, and I remember when the same thing happened to me, and that's why I've said to you before, like social media is while I like it, it's also really triggering for me too. And so it's I think that we put some things that I change like that because I'm not even on Facebook because it's too much for me. Yeah. I invited
Yeah,
and during
was he in yet?
no, he's not in yet. I invited him now.
You invited him. I know he's probably getting ready here. I'm sure he's getting ready.
I'd love to invite Tony in too if he's available.
I mean, if not, we can just wait and he'll jump on. Maybe if he jumps on, he jumps on. If not, no big deal. I mean, this is only our second live ever. So, we're just trying to, we're starting to get used to it.
I know. When I lost my Instagram. He's trying. Okay, I invited him. So, yeah.
So he should be in soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I gotta put this down so I don't have to hold it all the time.
Says he's trying.
Sure.
He's not trying hard enough. It's a nice shirt, Amanda. It's a really
love
nice
each
shirt.
other.
So yeah, this whole thing last night, I didn't realize how, so many people depend on Instagram these days for messaging and for, whatever, putting themselves out there, just talking. How addictive it can actually be, how destructive it can actually be. But at the same time, you need it. You do need it for, for connections around the world. You do need it for so many things. For the, I mean, you saw me last night. I was like, basically, I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I don't. I have to create things with people, and a lot of people are on social media, and then they're in different cities, and you're creating stuff, whatever. And I was like, I just lost all my contacts. Yeah. Oh, there he is. Look at that. Hey, twice in one day. Am I ever blessed?
Yeah. No, I'm blessed.
You remember Amanda? So,
yeah.
See, now I got to fully play this back on you because now we're having you on our podcast. So this is a total Jedi mind move. Yoda up there.
Yeah. This is great.
Yoda.
Thank you.
Yeah. May the force be with you. May the force be with you. Hey, if no one's following me, I need 2 followers to get to 10,000 so I don't have to be social media mentally ill.
So you can feel important, Ryan.
I need to be validated. Maybe Valboy or love you.
You're
Kazzy,
so validated.
Hey, Valboy, make sure you follow me if you love Amanda.
No, we love you so much, Ryan.
You do?
Yes, we do. We all love you.
Well, I had to get some. I had to have my prayer warrior. Jersey Mike's on. Amanda, Jersey Mike is on right now. Jersey Mike, we absolutely love you. We were talking about PTSD. I was on a podcast earlier today with this. Introduce yourself, sir. Introduce yourself.
So nice to have you here, Mike. Miracle, so nice to have you here. Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry, introduce yourself. Sorry.
Good. I'm Jerry Lund. I'm the host of.
It's all about you.
I'm host of the Enduring the Badge podcast. It's been going for about 5.5 years. I've been a first responder for over 33 years now.
Wow.
So, no, it's a pleasure to be on. I mean, like I was talking with Ryan today, like the mental health crisis is nothing new, and it's unfortunately something that's not really getting better. I think it's still like a long ways to go, right? and talking about it in platforms is incredible. I mean, I think it takes maybe some of the stigma away from it and helps people just realize this can be a normal conversation, that we're all sharing something maybe that we're suffering with. I think we're all have had our challenges, clearly, right? I mean, no human comes to Earth or walks through Earth or whatever without having some amazing challenges put in front of us. It's, how we handle them. Some of them we don't make choices when we handle them.
You know what I just like what you said? You said amazing challenges instead of saying really difficult challenges. Amazing challenges. You can put that towards difficult or easy. If it's a challenge, it's a challenge. Challenge to get over grief. Challenge to get over, emotional distress. And like how you and I were talking today about emotional intelligence. I mean, straight up, they should start teaching emotional intelligence in kindergarten or earlier, or the parents should be taking a course on emotional intelligence that they can incorporate to these kids, so as they get older, they don't have to make the same kind of mistakes as us.
I totally agree with you. I don't know what your feelings are, Amanda, but I mean, I think even in law enforcement, police, first responders, military, like, we're not really familiar with our emotions, other than, some of them is just, the emotion of like pushing through things and going forward and having maybe success that way, and maybe some grief as far as emotions. But nowadays, I've listened to a lot of people, and their emotional intelligence is low just because they haven't ever really been explained what these emotions are that they're feeling. So kids feel anxiety or anxious about things. I'm like, yeah, we all did. Like my daughter recently, I don't want to walk across the stage for graduation. I'm like, okay. Why? She's like, I feel anxious and nervous. I'm like, that's just a normal human feeling. Like, it's going to last like 30 seconds as you walk across the stage. I mean, that's it. Like, you can get through it. And then you're just going to build on your confidence after that.
Well, Yeah,
I would like to.
Go ahead, Nana.
Well, no, I just wanted to, he was asking me what my feelings on this were, and I actually have a friend right now, and Ryan, we have told you about him. He's a first responder, and he has created an app specifically for first responders and for mental health for first responders. And even though I'm not a first responder, I have been taken by many first responders when I've had to go to the hospital for the neurological issues that I deal with on a daily basis. And so I've been, I would say, fortunate and blessed to have been in the arms and hands of some incredible first responders that have been there for me when I've needed them the most. And I've also dealt with some first responders that haven't been very kind or compassionate either. But I've never thought in those moments to myself, what I've gotten present to in those moments is that I wonder how these guys deal with this stuff. Because with me, I know that first responders show up in situations that they're not equipped to necessarily know how to handle emotionally and mentally. And the system in which you guys are trained, that system is not set up to effectively train you to be able to handle those situations in a way where you can then go home at the end of your shift and be okay with your family and not take some of that stuff home with you. And so it concerns me about the system that actually trains first responders who are really there to help us and to be there for us, but the system in which is built to train you guys doesn't provide you guys what you need to effectively cope with the aftermath of whatever you went through that day before you go home to your families at night.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That they're not, and I'm sorry, if some first responders didn't maybe treat you with the utmost respect or care, and I think some of that is maybe just that, right? They have never been trained to how to deal with their feelings, and I think in this career, empathy and sympathy goes up and down depending on how you're feeling about your life, and it happens if you're a first responder or not, right? We have these cyclic things that happen, and I think with more training, we could recognize our emotions and feel how, learn how to deal with them. But what we're trained to do is, the very get-go of training, is emotions to, when there's danger, to turn around and leave. That's a natural emotion for people, but not what we do. We do the exact opposite of that. We run towards danger and really don't think twice about that. And I think that does something probably in our makeup of our minds and emotions that are probably not really good long term.
I just want to say one thank you so much for saying that, and also too, I just want you to know you don't have to apologize. And even in those moments when I've experienced not a lot of compassion, I understand there's compassion fatigue, and I understand that, you know, literally a first responder could have come to me right after dealing with someone who was dying in their arms or someone who was trying to kill them. So I have a lot of compassion for what you guys deal with on a daily basis, and like you said, I mean, it's there's not. There needs to be an effective system for you guys in order to be able to, for you guys to be there for us. We also need to be there for you. The system needs to be there for you guys too. So I also want to thank you for what you do and for being there for people, because I don't know if you guys get thanked enough, but thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We talked a little bit, and Amanda, you're very familiar with my friend Jay out of Toronto, who was an undercover with the Toronto Police Department for many, many years. And, you know, his complex post-traumatic stress disorder was so severe. He had to check himself in to the psychiatric unit in Toronto. You know, but the divine timing that him and I actually met, he used to be on one side of the fence, I was on the other side of the fence, but so similar. Like the commonalities were just absolutely so in alignment, you know, to this day. You know, we're very, very, you know, he's one of my best friends, but, you know, he was telling me how difficult it was, how many first responders, and I didn't understand this, but one of the things that he said is what you just said, is that the first responders got us, you know, they got us, but we forget about what they're witnessing. We forget about the blood. We forget about the accidents that they have to show up to. And, you know, they're putting their hearts on the line all the time. You got to be ready for the unexpected all the time. I mean, I thought hockey was tough, but I mean, not even close. I mean, so mad respect. You know, I don't know if I didn't tell you this, that post-traumatic stress disorder just became a thing in 1980. That was long after Vietnam.
Yeah. Right.
And so, I mean, that's only 33 years. 33 years, it's not long. 43 years, sorry. There's my math. There's my brain working. I'm thinking I'm younger than I am. But it's just, you know, so much has come to the forefront that it is a brain injury. You know, it actually, and you have that, and then you throw on some TBIs. And I remember meeting a gentleman in Cancun back in 2006, and he was over in Afghanistan. And he'd done 2 tours over there. And I said, are you going back? You did 2. I didn't understand why he did 2. And, you know, being from Canada, I wasn't in the know at that time. And he said, well, I'm supposed to do a 3rd, but they actually sent me to Cancun because I have they're worried about me because I have extreme post-traumatic stress disorder. And so now I'm done. I think he was maybe 32, 33, and he didn't have to do it. He actually was put on a compensation by the U.S. military because his mental state was so severe. And I mean, at that time, I wasn't in the mental health arena whatsoever. I didn't even know what PTSD was. So.
Yeah, it's.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Yeah.
It's sad that, I mean, that people are, I mean, losing their careers or ending their careers, and then some of them are taking their own lives because of these things. And it's kind of wanted to go back to kind of some of the things you guys are saying about first responders. And, you know, we're not perfect. And, you know, we were going from call to call, and who knows what the last call was. But the other major effect that we had in our lives is our families, what's happening outside of work. And we cannot separate what happens in our homes or whatever when it comes to work. I mean, people like to think we can and compartmentalize it, but we can't. It just doesn't happen. You know, so you're like, the perfect storm sometimes comes up, right? There's a bad day at home, and then you go to work and you have a bad day, and then people, you know, sometimes don't get treated the way they should, and it's just a compounding effect over time.
You know, that's really what you said is so vital, because the thing is that I think that as compassionate human beings, unless you have no heart, it's not always easy to compartmentalize. And I was just having this conversation a few weeks ago with the work that I do. I work in the area of social impact. And so, you know, unless I have some kind of like an impenetrable cage around my heart, everything I do in my life, like even in business and in personal, they kind of all bleed into each other a little bit. There's no really hard distinction line because of the work that I do, and because I live my life as a person that has compassion for humanity and for the earth and for animals. And so it's not really, I'm never like, I'm not one that is like, oh, I'm just not going to have compassion for that human. It just doesn't work that way. And I also want to just, you know, acknowledge that there are some really incredible first responders that are really, you know, despite dealing with their own challenges at home and their relationships outside of work, whatever they're dealing with, they go to their job every day and they're committed to doing their best, to actually being there and serving the people that they're serving. And then I also want to acknowledge that there are some individuals that are actually not doing that. And that's important for me to acknowledge that, because there are people that have been harmed by certain first responders that don't actually take accountability for whatever it is that they're dealing with. And so I think that when a community can come together, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but I really believe that when a community can come together and work together with first responders and the people in the community and really look at like what's going to work and what's going to help each other as a team and co-create good solutions together, I think that's just so powerful to do that, because it's like, it's not about pointing the finger at someone and saying this person's bad, that person's bad, this cop's bad, this person's bad, or, you know, this individual's bad, or whatever. No, we're all dealing with stuff. And when it comes to mental health, I mean, we're all human. We're all dealing with things that are really, really challenging. And so we've got to like, we really have to like just keep in our mind, like, we've got to have compassion for each other. And that's, I think a lot of times that's missing, that little key component there.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if they say that we're all connected, if one person feels it, we all feel it. And think about how many people were emotionally affected, especially during the pandemic. And if we are so intertwined and connected, 6 degrees of separation gets down to how many degrees of separation? Like when we find out that we know certain people, that we never would have known, that go back 20, 30 years, you never know. So when that vibration, I mean, I like to call everything a spiritual vibration. When the spiritual vibration of fear instead of love gets shot out towards the masses, this time it was the entire globe, then, you know, that dominant vibration of fear, it comes rippling down the pipe, so to speak. And when all these crises are going on, who is it that are showing up at the end of the day? It's the first responders. And, you know, I think I was telling you about the movie Dosed with Gabor Mate and my good friend Mark Howard. You know, there was a lot of first responders that were involved with that as well, you know, taking psychedelics to get over the... but at the end of the day, so much of this trauma, global trauma, has really been pushed on by our governments, by the hierarchies that are up here, whatever, because they've made certain rules. It all started off with the fear and then the social distancing. And then it got into the isolation, and addiction went through the roof. So, Are we in a mental health crisis, or are we in a love crisis that we got to start loving each other more? Having more, exactly, you know what I mean?
Samantha has a point, and I think someone's commenting there that it's like, right, that what we think is like maybe that small missing piece is compassion, but that's actually probably like the most, right, the most massive piece, right? Compassion or love, however you want to look at it, to bring us together, right? To stop the separation. It's just that compassion for each other. I don't have to know you to have compassion for you.
Exactly.
That's, I think, something we have to get rid of. We have to get rid of that.
Yeah, and that's a huge part about ridding the stigma completely. You know, taking away the judgment. You know, I used to say long ago. This is when I wrote a book some time ago, and I ended the last page. I said, have passion, practicing compassion. Have passion,
Yeah.
practicing compassion. I don't know where that came from at the time because my ego was still pretty like amplified. Starting to tone her down a notch. Ask Amanda. But no, I mean, I think one of the positive sides of COVID, you know, even though we lost many people, we all have our stories. Is that I think coming out on the back end, yeah, there's collateral damage, but you find out who's who in the zoo. You find out who's real. You find out who's fake. And it's also taught us that we can't really dwell on the past because that old world obviously wasn't working. In order to be expansive and broad and move forward, we almost have to accept what happened, maybe not be so cool with it, learn from it, and then come together as more of a communal organization of humanity, so to speak.
But the problem is we have to have that conversation, and we're not really having a lot of conversation because so much of the conversation takes place in maybe not in the proper forms of actual physical conversation, but maybe in forms of, you know, texting and I don't know, commenting or whatever. It's just the lack of actual physical communication with another is missing. And how can we have that compassion and love for each other if we can't actually talk and say that? And outside of the first responder world, people will kind of laugh. And I've heard this a couple times, like, you guys hug so much, and they're like, yeah, we really do love each other, like, and they think it's kind of weird that we hug each other, and you know, and just we're so friendly with each other, but we care about each other so deeply. So why can't we do that just outside in the community and stuff like that? I wish it was more acceptable.
I think as a man, and I'm a hugger, and after breaking up with my last girlfriend, I had post-traumatic breakup with girlfriend syndrome. I couldn't hug a girl for 2 years, and I still got walls up that are bigger than the Great Wall of China half the time. No pun intended. But I think more men are being more vulnerable. Not all, but I love, and I think a lot of women these days would way rather be with a man who is vulnerable, who is in touch with their feelings and their emotions. Yeah. And it's okay for men to cry, because it was never okay to cry when I grew up. Probably you the same. If I cried, my dad would take a belt to me. You know?
Yeah.
I want
what
you
were you
guys
gonna say, Amanda?
No,
sorry.
No, I just it's so beautiful what you said about the compassion component. It's really, if we can cultivate compassion with each other, like you said, we can actually transcend division and polarization. You know, we really can. And you working with your community, and you know, the community working with you, and all of us having compassion for each other, if we can just stand in that, like I always say, like, you know, my name is Amanda and I stand for unity. Unity is really important too. Love, peace, compassion, and dignity for myself and all others. You know, compassion is such a key component of how we operate as ourselves, but how we also interact with other human beings. And if we can just all cultivate compassion, we can transcend all the division and polarization that's being pushed out there so much to on media and social media. And it's like presenting this very skewed worldview that we have to all be divided and polarized, and it's like an us versus them conversation constantly. And it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. Like if we can just get present to that, really we are all connected. Look, I don't mean to go woo-woo and be whatever. You can be an atheist and still realize that everything is connected. You know, it's just like there's some part of me is you and vice versa, you know, and it's like, as long as I can feel that in my heart when I interact with you, and I can center that with myself and know that, like, you might not be having an okay day, you might be going through something really, really difficult, then all of a sudden I can like move from my own sense of like, okay, well, what is it that I need, and also be in a space of providing what you need, and we can co-create together in that space for each other, even as strangers.
Yeah. I think to your point though is to have compassion maybe for others in this skewed worldview that we have with social media and news and stuff like that, is we're lacking compassion for ourselves. We're lacking grace for ourselves. So it's really tough I think, for us as humans and to show love and compassion for others when we have so little for ourselves. It's just a very difficult thing that we have to like learn how to get over, like give ourselves some grace. We're not perfect, we're not perfect people. We make mistakes, and right, Ryan, you've made some, I've made some,
Oh,
Maddie, you've made some,
absolutely.
and
You don't
I've
have to
made
talk
we've
to
plenty.
learned from
everyone.
them.
You don't have to talk to everyone, but be nice to everybody. You know what I mean? You don't have to talk to them, but be nice. Give a smile. If they don't smile back, who cares? But it's like that old adage, hey, kill them with kindness. But I don't say kill them with kindness, just be kind. And it rubs off with people too. Especially, a lot of people these days, obviously, they judge from the exterior, and they might think that you're not such a nice person because you look a certain way. But on the inside, that person can be really, really hurting and care more than anything in the world and would be your best friend and do anything for you. Be kind. I like that with the bananas. I could use a banana right now. No milkshake. Protein it up. I need to get back to the gym. But, I think so many people these days, because, when they're younger, there's a lack of love. A lack of love from mother or father. They get maybe separated. Things happen in the family, whether it be sexual abuse, mental, emotional. I mean, it all goes into the same box, the mental health box. And with the whole mental health thing too these days, it's the topic going down. It's attached to everything. That's why there should be no stigma, because it is attached to everything. You use your mind to go to sleep, to shut it down. Your mind to wake you up and then have a shower. So why can't we use our minds to actually be harmonizing and synchronizing in with each other and co-create awesome things? Imagine if everybody could be more in alignment with Source, the Holy Spirit, so to speak, and know that we can be manifesting so much better, a much better world together than as one person, isolating.
Yeah.
So, I know we brought that up a little bit, the isolation, and that's been a tough one it's a tough one for so many people. You don't think that they would.
People still feel isolated. I think, we're talking about maybe the compassion and stuff and how to like maybe change some things. And I think to your point, Ryan, is just, I love to say hi to people at the store or the restaurant or whatever, my server or whoever's like, and I love the reaction because they're so blown away that someone actually would just say, hi, how are you doing? How's your day? And I do generally mean it when I'm asking them.
Yeah.
And I just love the reactions from people because it gets done so little these days, and people want, like, you're here to serve me. I don't need to talk to you. Like, I've come to this restaurant. You're here for me. I'm not here for you. Like that. That's not necessarily true. Give to them, they're going to give to you.
Bang on. You nailed it. No, you couldn't have said it any better. No, absolutely. Amanda, I'm going to give the floor to you after I say one thing that somebody requested. And yes, it is. It's nicer to be kind and gentle than angry and mental. So yeah, that is that's something that, apparently, that I quoted in Southeast Asia. It was on a little island that Amanda used to live at with no cars. There's not one car on this little island. And it got destroyed in the tsunami back in 2004. And they rebuilt it and everything. It's not what it used to be, but it's called PHI. So Fifi, but it's actually Pee Island. So it's, if you have to go to the bathroom, don't make an excuse.
Yeah, so true. I just wanted to add to what you guys were saying, because what you're saying is really just so beautiful, and being kind is, and cultivating compassion, every day is for ourselves, just like you were just saying, for ourselves, is so important, because if it's actually really it's actually probably disingenuous maybe, but also really exhausting when we're cultivating compassion for everybody else but ourselves. And I think that we often have an easier time, perhaps, at least I think I do,
being compassionate for others, but forgetting at times to have compassion for myself. And I can be really, really hard on myself, and my whole life I've been that way, as a matter of fact. And so I'm learning still, and I'll probably be learning till the day I die, to continue to cultivate compassion for myself as much as I give to others. And I was just wanted to say one last thing as well, and that is that, you know, sometimes I'm not always having a good day, and so when I leave my home and I go outside, and when I'm outside, sometimes I isolate and stay indoors. But when I do go out, I'm not feeling good, and I'm not like feeling good physically or mentally or emotionally, and I don't feel like the energy, strength to like really go out of my way to be like, how are you doing today? And like, you know, ask people how they're doing. And sometimes I just don't have that energy. Like I'm so low energy. But what I found is that even if I can't interact with people, because in those moments I'm just not feeling well, the best I can do is not be cruel. And so like, you know, even in, it's not, I don't think it's necessary that we say that people have to run around being kind to everyone, because sometimes we're not having good days. But even when we're not having good days, at least if we're not cruel, that is good, because I can go out into the world and still be okay, and make sure and see that everybody else is going to be somewhat okay, as long as I don't give cruelty out there. Like, I'll never be like that, you know. I may not run up to you and be, hey, how's your day going? How are you doing? It's so nice to meet you. You look beautiful. I may not have the energy it takes to like do that for someone in that moment, in that particular day, because whatever it is I'm dealing with. But I promise this, that I won't go out into my day and be cruel to someone because I'm not feeling well.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it can be just really that simple, right? Just you if you don't have it within you, you just don't have to be the complete opposite of that. I mean, you don't have to take things out on someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of time here. I don't know how many people are actually on this watching right now. And I'm so grateful that you had me on your podcast today. Maybe tell the people what your podcast is, so people actually can tune in. Give you the platform.
Yeah,
and then I have one question to ask the people. One question.
So okay, I do have to do this other call. So can you please tell us about your podcast? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's called Enduring the Badge Podcast. It's features a lot of first responders and their mental health challenges and how they've gotten through them and where they are today. So it's really great. Whether you're a first responder or not, it's a look into their lives and look into anybody's lives on how you can get through your challenges.
And your first, middle, and last name?
It's Jerry Dean Lund.
Okay, now that we got that straight. Okay, one question. I don't know how many people we have on here. What should the name of our podcast be? Because we're just going to do lives. That'll be our podcast. It's easier for us. You know, why not? Constructive craziness? Is that good? Constructive craziness? Is that okay? Is that too crazy to be constructive crazy? I don't know.
Constructing kindness.
Constructive kindness. You know what? That's good. But can you?
Constructing kindness.
Constructing kindness. Yeah. Then we'd have to get some builders in here, and that might. You never know.
You guys are builders.
If you build it, they will come.
That's true. Jerry, it was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor. Thank you very, very, very much. Thanks for sharing your time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
When I woke up this morning, I had no idea we'd be talking this long.
You guys take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Have a beautiful day. Beautiful day.
You too.
Take good care. Peace.
Bye.